Hello everyone here. I want to do a reaction to the DioField Chronicles because this is my favorite genre of all time, right? Tactical Japanese role playing games, TJRPG, also called SCRPG, that's strategy Japanese role playing games. And so I'm excited, right? We just had, of course, Project Triangle drop last week, right? I haven't actually played it yet because I'm still playing Elden Ring, and it was an Elden Ring stream earlier today when I saw and I heard and stream this thing was out today, right? So yeah, I'm excited, right? Let's do a quick recap who I am a little bit, right? First. So why am I so excited? Well, I have always been collecting JRPGs. That's on my channel, right? I worked on JRPGs, 7 remake, right, a little bit, and one game I worked on a few years ago was a strategy game where I kind of combined, Tactics Ogre, FFT, right? All these good games, this guy and so on, all together, right, for missions and so on. And of course Fire Emblem, I was addicted to Fire Emblem a long time, but also games like Here's Mathematic and so on. So this really is my thing, and I collect the RPG games. So it's a brief example, right? I have Wild Arms, right? I got FF7, all the good stuff, right? I even got the lesser known titles, Breath of Fire, and etc. But again, my favorite genre, right? The true genre has been games like Front Mission 3, which is an amazing game. My favorite, of course, one of my actually classic games, otherwise FFT, right? FFT Tactics, and of course all the games like the Sky and so on, whatever. Right? I have all the games actually for Nipponichi, basically ever. I have Solo Man, Phantom Brave, so on, Lapula Tactics. Like I have basically every game they ever made. Okay, I played all of them, Princess Rhapsody and so on. And I actually wrote my thesis in combat system of role-play games, right? And in particular, then of course, tactical role-play games. And I work like lead designer, combat designer, and so on, balance designer. So this is kind of my thing, right? So I'm always very excited, seriously, to see a new Japanese strategy games. I guess the reason why mainly is because again, I really love, like role-playing games. And I think strategy games from Japan, they kind of combine that we have in, let's say, Final Fantasy, but they throw it in with extra more strategy depth, right? So you can simply have the job system, but they take it in like a bigger aspect of having a few characters. You have like a bunch of characters, right? You combine the power and so on. So yeah, FFT is a good example of taking an interesting combat system from FF3 and 5 and so on, right? And etc. And especially for that matter, FFX2, which has a really good combat system for that matter. Seriously. Or one of the best, where you play as, of course, Yuna, Pain, and Riku, right? You change clothing, you change jobs, but it's very interesting. But anyway, take those systems, right, and you put them in the strategy aspect, so you have like 20 characters or more, and you have to, it's really, really interesting. So that's one thing. But another thing I'll say before I watch the video here, is one reason why I really like the genre, is because the Japanese people, right, for example here from Mission, they always write amazing storylines. I think it's a strategy game. This kind of genre setting fits for this, like, I guess, geopolitical drama, right, that we have in recent times. But they're really good writing those. And for Mission 3, you can play two different sides. So you're either in the Chinese side or in the American side. And it's really fun to replay the game at least once, right, in the other side as well and so on. And they're really good at writing these, like, back and forth wars and so on. But anyway, let's watch the trailer. And for that matter, after you do this game, you might as well do, of course, Valkyrie Profile, another classic, or Squre Enix game, right? Of course, Squre Enix is a huge thing for me in my life, so yeah, let's do that as well, of course. But anyway, let's first watch then the DioField Chronicle reaction, so I have a review video. Okay, so of course, classic, strategy with east field, central field. No, but okay, we get classic war, right? And setting off. I don't really care about this. Yeah, whatever, cutscenes. Give some cutscenes. Okay, show me this one gameplay. But I'm interested in, of course, seeing the moves, I thought. Okay, here we go. Squre Enix, of course, classic home by my boys. I I have like 200 games for Squre Enix. Looks like Europe, yeah. It's like Europe, and it looks like UK, right? So, like France there, and Calais there, basically. So this is shit I want, baby. Some kind of warped in countries. Come on. Betrayal, betrayal, kings, queens, who's bad, everyone's evil. Okay, so definitely it's different than Triangle Strategy. Yeah, not the pixel, much more modern. But the fights are still probably, there we go. Yeah, the fights are still basically classic strategy. Interesting. Because this is where we're gonna go back and react to, of course. This is the meat, of course, of it. units. So yeah, interesting. So, is it real time in the fight or something? And you have summons too. It's very fantasy. Maybe Bahamut Lagoon, a classic, right? Love that game. See, yeah, definitely more modern than the other games. Oh yeah, this is shit I love, man. Missions and grind. We're also like grinding. No, but it's fun, okay? Very, you play the game and you get XP up. Interesting. Seems to have a very interesting gameplay mechanics. That's what I'm here for, right? Interesting combat system. To be earlier, that's what I live for, combat systems. Very interesting. It looked like a really interesting combat system. I'll definitely start to see more of this game. Okay, so I want to go over the video a bit, right? And then afterwards, we'll also look at the Valkyrie profile. Which, I can say briefly again, Valkyrie profile, I also interested game when it arrived because it had a very interesting movement when you fly around and so on. And the system I felt was very similar to Tales, right? So I grew up, again, all the RPGs I played, the first Tales game was Super Nintendo, right, to SNES. And they were very similar, I felt, to the Valkyrie profile. So it's probably hack and slash, right, the newer games. But anyway, so I'm interested in here, right, is some of these things here. I don't care so much about the story or lore or whatever, right? Not because, again, like first mission, right? Amazing storyline. Tacits Ogre, Tacits, of course, and Tacits Ogre even better. FFT has a great storyline, but Tacits Ogre, Yasuo Masun and so on, from the same people, right? That then was hired by Quest was hired by Squre. Before they worked on Squre Salt, right? They worked on this company called Quest. They did Ogre Battle and Tacits Ogre, right? Tacits Ogre has an amazing storyline. It's even better. FFT is a good storyline, but it's not even close to Tacits Ogre, which is like a goddamn masterpiece for Game of Thrones and video games. But anyway, certainly this thing, I don't feel in the trailer here, it's that important. It has probably a good storyline, right? And it might be really important, but I'm feeling for my trailer and the first take on it, right? Whatever. But certainly it's gonna be war and you fight against. The thing we can see though is that, as I mentioned earlier, right? Triangle strategy. Very cool game, used to ride, right? For example, Octopath, very similar to Octopath Traveler, right? Screens again. That game is going for that, old school like SNES, PlayStation 1 graphics, right? Of course, improved. This game here feels much more modern, right? Made more Fire Emblem, just ever, yeah. Going for cutscenes and so on. So certainly more modernized from my graphics standpoint, though. But anyway, let's look at actual gameplay, which is the more important thing. Coming here right, after some other, cutscenes and so on. So here, Carl. What I don't get here, first of all, is the game actually real time, right? That to me feels very interesting because it feels that the character are actually attacking automatically, right? Certainly, the character set here at moving and so on, and then you have different abilities, but it seems to me that unless we are seeing like execution scene, right? So in some games, for example, this looks very similar to Phantom Brave. If you play Phantom Brave from this kind of angle, I mean, it looks quite similar to that, right? Phantom Brave is a Nippon game. It has the circular thing instead, right? Every character has the movement is now circular, right? So instead of taking squares, typically in these games you have I can move this much, meters, right, from my circle in radius instead, and you can then attack people and so on. You get this like circle, who can I reach and so on, right? It looks like that to a face value. But otherwise, I guess it reminds me, if it's automatic, it reminds me of something like, for example, 30 Sentinel, right? That was honestly pretty terrible. 30 Sentinel was an amazing game, I think, from a story aspect. Truly a great game. But from the battle aspect, it looks like front mission, right, or whatever, right? Mecha fighting, but yeah, it's a lot of this. The enemies just shoots at you in the air thing. So, I don't know, I think the thing that the game looks like, it's like pseudo-real time, it's called. The actual gameplay, probably. Let's go on. We do see them putting move and so on. But doesn't it feel like... So, it's interesting because it's a timer up in the right corner. And it says like this is a time limit, right? And you see these arrows. So either you give all the character the commands, and we can see the player, right, to send forward this unit to the charge, right? Typical cavalry unit. And of course it probably goes through enemies, like piercing damage or whatever, or pierce through the enemies, certainly. But yeah, it feels like the other character are already moving. So I guess the game is like strategy, but it's actually things happening in real time. So you're in the menus, it seemingly is still moving, right? Well, actually, now when I look at it again here, I looked at it's like pseudo-real time. So what's happening is that the characters are moving. Yeah, they're moving in real time. But when you enter this menu to pick your ability, it's pausing, right? So it is similar, definitely, to a lot of, we see, for example, something like Restless of Fate, for example, right? The units are also running around in real time, but when you enter the pause menu, or you enter the ability menu or item menu, then it freezes, right? And then you can go in. So that's, I guess, how the game works. So it has the kind of, I guess, yeah, pseudo real time, where the combat system is strategy game, we have several units, but they seem to keep fighting by themselves until you give them commands, right? So I guess if you don't do anything, they're just gonna keep fighting the enemies, and then if you want to do special abilities, then you enter here, right? So yeah, it could be an instant gameplay, so I'm excited. This kind of game mechanics, I will say it's kind of hard though, to balance them out. Resistance Fate was interesting, because in that game, no, it's a more role-playing game, but still, in that game, you first do all the commands, right? And then the character kind of run around and shoot the shit, right? And during this like real-time running around phase, you can press trigger buttons and so on, so you kind of do extra stuff while they're moving around. And then you kind of do all this stuff, and then you do the commands again, and they run around again. So it's like two different... I think it's very common for this kind of game that they have two different phases. Like a game I worked a few years ago, we have what we called the execution phase, right, and the kind of the planning phase. So planning phase is turn-based, right, to pick moves, and then everything's happening at the same time. It's multiplayer, so everything's happening, and it rolls up every command, right? But it seems to also features, definitely heroic units and so on, certainly typical games, where here we have one person, I think, against like a dragon, like 3 people, unless the dragon is with him, but anyway, it's hard to say. But anyway, several units versus one unit, right, he beats him easily, with something that's like God of Gas or whatever, yeah. So it definitely has that gameplay where, oh yeah, you can have a named character that's much stronger. And but also I think this is interesting because it kind of shows you what reminds me of like StarCraft or something, where it's a kind of hero quest where, oh, you have to beat a dungeon with like one guy or something. So yeah, the game is interesting because I think I'm guessing, I'm hoping, right? But I think they're mixing a little bit that like typical single player role play game, right? And I mean single player as in one unit or one party unit. Watch this thing. This feature fit more like he's doing a dungeon with one character, right? So I think that's interesting too, that they're trying to blend several different role-playing system moments here. It's both real-time and it has like, several party members, like a tactical game, right? And it has like one party member, so they go in a little bit both in those directions too there. And then lastly, well, 2 more things. And then we also have the classic JRPG, right? The world map, we don't go around and so on. But what I think is interesting here is that, I'm going to say it here, and what I like about old series like Mission so on, is they're linear, okay? And I mean linear in that hardcore sense, not linear in the storyline, but I think, people like Elden Ring, whatever, right? But I'm thinking, what I like, one thing I also like about Mission, is that you can't level up the characters. I mean, certainly they level up by getting XP, but you can't actually grind, right? Because if you fight, you only fight in the main story, and you do the main story, you get the next stage, right? One thing I really enjoyed playing Fire Emblem then, Three Houses, because I played it on Maddening, and I never played it Maddening, or if I want to play it on Maddening. In Maddening, you have very limited number of missions you can do in extra fights, right? So you have to really do them perfect, so people don't die, and you have to really minimize, damage taken, perfect, maximize XP gain and so on, right? For every character, because you only have a few set of fights, right? And when I played Three Houses, my first game of it, my first one, I played on Maddening, and I also took the hardest route too. I didn't know that, I took the hardest route because I wanted to take the waifu route, right? And I was like, oh my god, there's so few battles. The last boss took me, I don't know how many attempts, okay? It was horrible, okay? It was like 30, 40 attempts, I don't know, but at least 10 attempts at the last boss, though. It was really, really hard. And of course I had to cheese it maximally. Basically I had Petra avoiding every attack. I had like one girl, one waifu, she could dodge every attack forever. That's the reason I could beat it. Incredibly hard. But I like that, I like that. And I hope this game here goes that classic, old school JRPG, right? Tactical RPG where you're stuck in like, you only have this many fights, you only have this many story fights. But I don't know, it is definitely more rare in the recent years. Then lastly, of course, you have like summonings and shit, right? I don't know, if it's very fantasy, we saw a few images like dragons popping up and these massive spells, right? So it's probably gonna have some kind of, I don't know, a place up a Bumble Laguna, or you summon the thing, you feed your pet or whatever. It's certainly something like that, right? But yeah, I think it's getting interesting. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below and so on, right? It seems like a high potential game. I think Triangle Strategy has been received very positive, right, last week, and I hope we're gonna see more of those kind of games, right? But the difference here is that Triangle Strategy is very, like, you know, traditional, old school, right? This feels like it's blending a bunch of different stuff from this genre and trying to have a little more cutscenes and so on. It's a little more modernized, and see where that goes at. But anyway, let's, I guess, also watch Valkyrie Profile, right? Okay then, might as well also watch Valkyrie Elysium, right? And also that maybe the Final Fantasy 1! It looks so insanely ugly, right? This Final Fantasy origin of douchebaggery. I don't know. Maybe the gameplay is amazing, but it looks incredibly terrible. The other was so cringe when I saw it right the first time, I think last year. I was like, oh my Jesus Christ. But maybe the gameplay is good. But anyway, I'll be brief here. Valkyrie Elysium, Valkyrie Profile, kind of another less famous game generally for Squre Enix. It looks kind of like this, and I wouldn't be surprised this game is very hack and slash, because I always felt that, as I mentioned earlier, that Valkyrie Profile wanted to be kind of the Tales game, right? They wanted to be this 2D action game. They wanted it to go more like action RPG, so a little bit like the Mana games, I suppose too, but more so the Tales franchise. So yeah, I expect this trailer to be much more you flying around with a Valkyrie with like a spear, I guess, or a lance, maybe a sword, right, and cutting stuff or something. But might be a really good game though, right? Maybe the Nier over it, like the extra gameplay might be very Nier at the moment, something. Yeah, okay, let's go, Valkyrie. So yeah, I expect, you know, hack and slash, kind of Nier again, right? Nier Automata, even though it looks like Nier now here. But something like that, where you hack around and so on. I would love to see a new Mana game. You know, I was crying when I saw the Trials of Mana, right? That reaction a few years ago. Finally making a remake of Trials of Mana. I was amazed by that. Yeah, obviously a Valkyrie. It looks okay, right? The graphics okay. Here we go, yeah. This was expected, right? Honestly, I expect it to be like Nier, yeah. Hack and slash, getting in, doing combos, okay, nice, some hack, hooking and so on. Some air combos, okay. This is pretty good, honestly. Is that a companion maybe? The purple guy there? I like to have the hooking thing, so it goes really fast because you can fly into them. Some spells too, I guess. Yeah, lightning fireballs. Jump around. The graphics is kind of I feel. This is a kind of weird cell shading they have on the characters, but... Okay, it's an Odin, I guess. Yeah, it's a kind of companion, right? Maybe it's a summoning thing, okay. I think it looks pretty good, like the actual combat looks good. I think the graphics looks kind of meh, but this might be improved, right? I think the actual combat looks pretty stellar, actually. You're jumping around, flying after them, very quick, combat oriented. And it should be an strangle or something. What's happening? Did she change her hair color? Yeah, I think she went from like brunette to that. So this looks, I think it looks actually pretty good. Okay, like this combat looks really fluid. You clearly use this kind of, you know, hooking mechanic, right? You're kind of grabbing them like a link thing, flying to the enemies, doing some combos, flying to the next enemy. So it looks to be really fast, really quick action. It's certainly an action RPG. She used like different magic. She had lightning, fireball, summoning companions. So it's probably at least some kind of talent tree or whatever, right? Where you can spec what you want to specialize on. Something like that. Maybe some weapons too. But yeah, I think the combat actually looked really good. The issue was more the graphics. Like here, right? Look at that bat thing. It looks really weird. It got this like weird... I guess some kind of cell shading effect over it. It's more it's a lighting map, I guess, on its mesh though, technically speaking. I guess it's a lighting map. It has a very like tame lighting map, so meshing texture kind of weird. But anyway, so I worked a lot with, I should say a lot, but I did study computer graphics at to some extent at PhD a little bit, and I studied a lot with lighting effects and so on. I thought there was too much here, but one of the few things I am good at when it comes to coding is like computer graphic science, right? In a sense, very specific. So yeah, it looks pretty bad because I have a lot of experience, like, you know, coding shaders and so on. So this looks terrible, honestly, the CGI. Not insanely terrible, but like, you know, it looks, yeah, not like Unreferral terrible, but like, yeah, it's pretty bad, or like X-Arm terrible. But it looks the lighting map and so on looks really weird, or maybe it's the shader itself, because it has like it lacks kind of like a sparkle. It's hard to explain without going into detail, right? And I don't know the actual code or whatever, but it certainly doesn't look very good. But the thing is that I think the combat looks well, and I am, again, a combat guy deep down on the actual gameplay, and this other stuff, like fixing the models or fixing the lighting effect and so on, and also maybe a little bit of the reflective light and the ambient light in this whatever cellar or whatever it is, and so on. Fixing that stuff is easier, right, than fixing a good combat system, because the other stuff I mentioned, that's just basic engineering, okay? You can improve that, right? It's not really about like artistic skill, right? It's more engineering. For example, there's a lot of people now talk about Elden Ring, right? So people are like, oh, it's not that good graphics or whatever. But the counter argument as they use with Elden Ring is that the art is good, right? You know, maybe the graphics aren't the best for a new game today, this year, but the art, right? The art design, the actual like conceptual enemies and so on are interesting, right? And people say that's better than graphics or whatever. I personally agree too. Of course, the graphics has to be to some extent good, but certainly I feel interesting art design is better than just the highest graphical effect, right? Because that's more of the artistic thing. Highest graphical effect or detail is something you can do with budget, right? But anyway, I actually think this game is really good. As long as they fix the graphic stuff, which in my opinion is the least important thing, the game might be really good. And again, that is the stuff that is easiest to fix too. That's just a budget money thing, right? If the combat system sucks, right, that's hard to fix because there's so much more rework. But certainly I think they have to do. And I would say one thing, obviously the main character didn't look as waifu, right? She needed bigger tits and one. No, but seriously, she also looked very plain. She looked very plain. I would prefer if they made the main character look a little more, you know. I'm just kidding, but to some extent, something else, right? Maybe a little longer hair, a little older hair. Maybe you could change her outfit, I don't know, but a little more standing out. But again, combat looked really good. It's not a graphical issue, right? Anyway, I guess I might torture myself watching Final Fantasy as well. So, blood and gore, yeah, great war against. Anyway, Stranger of Paradise is a remake of Origins, right? Final Fantasy Origin. Final Fantasy Origin is the first Final Fantasy and the second, actually, in this remake to Best of One, which I have in my collection. But this game is only the first game, right? The Four Wars of Light. It's not actually the second game, but for Origin is actually 1 and 2. But whatever, doesn't really matter. They have made it into some kind of, I don't know, edgelord action game. But I say this thing, right? Everyone makes fun of it, and so did I too, when it was first announced and so on. The gameplay might still be good, right? So whatever, let's watch the trailer. Yes, okay, give me the goddamn trailer. Look at that. Yeah, he's like stabbing it, and he's like bam, and he's like, I don't know, he's like, his command is like, you die now, bam, something like that, right? Yeah, it's like, yeah! I mean, it looks very brutal, and I just hate how the main character looks. It's the most boring white guy ever. A Marlboro, okay, like Crystal Marlboro, and it's like stabbing it with the crystal. I don't know, this did not give me much more. This did not give me much more, I don't really care. I don't feel this gave me much more than I already knew. It was just like, actually, honestly, it felt like a pretty bad trailer, just from what we already knew. This trailer just showed him, oh yeah, look at me, I'm smacking a Marlboro, which is, I mean, a cool enemy. It's a classic fantasy enemy, what is it? Here it is, yeah. I mean, it's a classic enemy. I think the game was pretty good. I mean, I think the actual gameplay and so on, right, looks good. And the graphics. The problem with this game is that first of all, the main character has the most boring. What is it? Brian, I think, or something. He looks ridiculously boring, right? So that's one massive issue with the game. I mean, it actually, I think, it's very weird because everything else is very flashy and crystally. Everything dies and becomes crystal and so on. Why can't the main character look, I don't know, way more badass? He looks so boring. But anyway, I don't know. You're gonna buy this game? I think it's released very soon. I think it's coming like almost now, right? I have zero interest in it. But if people tell me that the gameplay is amazing, I still probably buy it because I basically own like every Final Fantasy game ever. So I guess I might seriously buy it and never play it, right? And just have it in my collection. Yeah, just I have every fantasy game. Honestly, I meet that, no problem. I even buy, you know, some collector edition, right? Sometimes I even buy both collector edition and the normal, you know, right? So I can have a CD to play, right? Certainly, I have several games where I buy 2 of the copies, right? And one collector or whatever, you know, the more bigger one, and then I keep it, of course, in mint, and then the other one I buy just to play, right? Done it many times, FF10 and so forth. So I've done it for many years. So maybe I just buy the things to have it in the collection, right? But whatever. What do you guys think? What do you think about the other 2 games? I think they both look to have really good gameplay, actually, right? Valkyrie looked really... Graphic was kind of meh, but the gameplay is really good, really fast, really quick. And yeah, Geo politics. I don't want to talk too much, you know, Russia, crazy one. But yeah, geopolitical game looked very geopolitical. There's a war over there, there's a war over there, and so on. But it's certainly they had all the elements I want, right? It's combining those classic thing about all this continent here, we have a betrayal here, or why do you want to fight us, and so on. So the storyline is probably going to be the classic stellar, well-written, I feel, drama, tactical games, right? Which I really love, and I love those animes too, like that. Unfortunately, the animes that try to be those games usually fail. One reason is because they always fail how to present the world, like the world building and maps and so on. With the video game, it's the right, that you show the map, you have the actual battles and so on, and the actual stats, right? But anyway, what do you think? Subscribe, press like button, leave a comment below, of course, right? But the 3 games here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with One Piece as the live stream.